Frey will tell us the answers. Thank you and hello. And here's my presentation. I'm Pia. I'm a co-founder of Opinary. I used to work as a journalist. I worked with Die Welt in product development. And what you see here, the speed meter, is one of our tools that you may know from online media. When you read an article, you see a survey, a little questionnaire where you can position yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Now, I'm not going to talk about Opinary so much, but I would like to talk about why an active dialogue with users is indispensable when it comes to creating long-term loyal clients. Long-term client relationships are not the only thing. Well, ever since we talked about subscriptions, and of course there's an explosion of subscriptions driven by Trump in the US, and I think this gives us hope. There's different models, but of course we need to become more independent of Facebook and co, and we need to really find users ourselves. Now, from the user perspective, this is not seen quite as enthusiastically. As a user, you're used to getting things for free, and now all of a sudden you're expected to pay for this content? Well, this big process of change that is required from the perspective of the user, or what should happen, this is what I'd like to talk about by using a comparison. Well, let's say you take a look at the subscription from the user perspective. It is a relationship with a brand. You commit yourself, you pay, you sacrifice. It's about a long-term commitment. And of course, you need a certain amount of trust because you're investing your euros, after all. Now, compared to that, when you compare this with an ad-driven era, well, let's compare it with one-night stands, with Tinder dates. The fast click that you make, let's say it's about this one-off affair, this one article, and then you're no longer interested in staying in touch. You don't give them their phone number, you're gone, you remain anonymous. So that's a real shift. It's addressing users. The change from an affair-driven era to a relationship era. So in order to go deeper into what this means, let me start by talking about what a relationship means, what it looks like, how it is brought about. On the left, you see a classical dating funnel. You meet somebody in a bar, let's say, you have a nice conversation, you exchange numbers, you meet for a drink. Then you have a nice conversation, you're interested in each other, you really understand each other. Then you go to the movies, you commit yourself for dinner, you go home with each other, become intimate with each other. So this can lead into a relationship. Doesn't have to. Now let's go back to a subscription. Let's say you take out a subscription. Well, it should be the same funnel. You click on an article on Facebook that's interesting. You find it so interesting. Well, I want to see more of that source. I like the site on Facebook or Twitter, wherever. Then I become a follower. I see that there's more relevant content for me on this site. Then you say, okay, you let him into your inbox, you subscribe to a newsletter that you can sign up for. If the quality is right and constantly right, and if you have the impression that this is quite relevant for me, and they have a lot of articles that are interesting. And you can download the app, which is a sign of intimacy. Maybe you even allow for push emails to be sent to you, push messages sent to your app. And if this is still relevant, and if you're ready to pay for it, become a member, whatever, then maybe you take out a subscription. So that's a long way. Of course, all of this enthusiasm around subscriptions, sometimes it's a stormy up and down, and you jump from one click to the next. So let's say you're a user, you go to an article, and then they ask, do you want to take out a subscription? That's going far. It's going very fast. It's jumping from level 1 to level 5, skipping everything in between. It's like you go to a bar, you have a nice conversation with somebody, and then the second thing you say is, do you think we should have a relationship? The answer you're probably going to get is no, because we don't know each other. So, Opinary, and my own opinion, is that we need a more efficient funnel that creates a greater base of first-time users that are turned into subscribers. So one thing that is common to relationships is that meeting in a bar for drinks all the way to going to the movies, well, this doesn't happen on its own, but it requires a constant interaction, an exchange, a communication. So a lot of text messages go back and forth. Friends are asked what they think about this. You happen to meet each other on the street and thus build up more and more confidence. And this leads you through this relationship funnel. Now, this exchange exists quite rarely in publishing houses. Not as much as you know it from the world of relationships. Well, you might contradict me and say, yes, we are addressing our users, we interact with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and WhatsApp, whatever. So lots of studies have shown that perception that confidence is being built up, that this doesn't happen as efficiently as it is often believed if you interact in a closed network. So this dialogue that is happening is often restricted to a commentary section where maybe a lot of angry people post their opinions, and that's not really a relevant cross-section of the users. So the threshold here is very high. So in order to enable a more active dialogue with users and in order to create a more loyal relationship between brands and users, Opinary has developed a model where the editorial department or brands can enter into an interaction, start a dialogue with the users, and thus they would have a more useful tool to convert users into consumers of paid content. So a question is asked in the article that relates to the content, and you position yourself on this scale depending on where your opinion is and what other users think. And then while you're still relatively switched on, there's a call for action that refers to your stage in the funnel. So you're requested of maybe subscribing to a newsletter. And we have many publishers in Germany, Great Britain, and the US. And what we're seeing is that users are very ready to enter into such a dialogue. And the level of interaction, if you make it easy for users to position themselves, and then you have a targeted call to action, then the conversion rates are quite good.
So the 15% actually refers to users that learn about this. 6% actually click through to this call for action, just like a newsletter subscription. And then below, Time has come up with its own call for action, become a subscriber, it says here. And this, of course, has engendered less interaction, just 0.8%. in terms of the click-through rate. So let's now look at various modes of interaction that I engage in as a publishing house to drive them through the funnel. It's an interaction rate that's 60 times higher compared to tweets, likes, comments, or shares. Another example relating to NBC, 2 targeted call for actions asking users to become Twitter followers or to subscribe to their newsletter. And the click-through rate, the average click-through rate is roughly 11%. So what we've learned is this. A user, well, if they're asked a question, and every talk is opened with a question, and if this is followed by a call for action, and during the engagement process, while there's heightened attention, well, at that point in time, users are able to actually move through the funnel. Now, even though you might be successful in terms of leading users through the dialogue, even if you interact with the user, it's actually just a small pool in terms of getting subscriptions. This is a study dating back to 2017, carried out by Reuters. So, 70% of Germans are saying that they're quite unlikely to pay for a subscription, and 17% is saying not likely. But this focus on subscription, well, that doesn't mean that it's pointless. So maybe you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, the subscription basket. But you can form a relationship, a loyal relationship to the user. That's actually quite important in order to actually come up with various ways of monetizing. So direct and loyal user relations are key for other user channels to Word. Opinary is a model which provides a service for editorial teams in terms of conversions, and it also cooperates with a portfolio of brands that are also interested in forming loyal relationships with their target groups. And that's why we have come up with a marketing model for our publishing partners, and that's one of many sales channels. So what I'm saying is this. So user relationships, well, they may not end in a marriage, but loyal relationships and understanding your users, well, that's key to being successful digitally. Establishing a dialogue, that's a prerequisite, of course, is important to push users through a funnel so that they can be lifted to the next stage. Well, that's what we do with Opinary. Feel free to put questions to me either tonight or tomorrow. My colleague Louisa is also here. Thank you.